You can tell that you're home when you see the fragments of silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining as always are Petty and Gollix. All right, let us get to the news. Gollix, why don't you start us off since you just came back from a trip?
Yes, for the last 3 days, I just got back a few hours ago. I went on a trip with my parents to Rhode Island to visit my sister and her baby. Um, it was certainly a lot better than I was worried about because I haven't really traveled in a long time. Although I was reminded of several things that I am more picky about than I thought I was, including the scents of hand soap. Um, and the importance of either doormats or a separate space when you come in the house to take your shoes off and stuff. Um, but yeah, had a good time. We were there almost most of the day on Tuesday, and it was kind of long because my parents and her talk a lot, and I'm sometimes involved in those, so it's not like when visiting family that you don't talk to all the time, where there's a lot to chat about. And obviously, for a baby that's, I think, just barely 7 months old, there's a lot of time where the baby is busy being fed or put for down for a nap or trying to sleep or has to go to the bathroom or something. But we still got some good time.
General baby things.
Mm-hmm. And my laptop was creaking. My old laptop was creaking like hell, but it survived. It was doing this thing where I would have a Twitch and another thing open, and whichever one I wasn't focusing on, the text was starting to get scrambled.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah, it worked. I really only use this computer nowadays for looking up stuff while playing Pathfinder. But again, I'm getting a new laptop, hopefully next week or the end of this week, so hopefully I won't have to worry about it for too long. And I think that's pretty much all I really have going on.
So I guess that would be my go.
Aye.
Sure.
Not really a whole lot has happened this week. We thought we fixed the roof leak. We have not yet. We have one more thing we're gonna possibly see about doing before we basically have to throw up our hands and call a professional. So that's fun. Unfortunately, we can't get into the attic to see underside roof damage, if there is any. Because I guess the ceiling in the room with the leak is a dropped ceiling. So where the attic is, there was no need to have access to that part because the ceilings were originally vaulted. So we have no way to get over to that part of the house without tearing a hole in either structural wall or putting a hole in the ceiling.
It sounds like a problem.
It is a problem, very much so, yes. So we're gonna. What?
What's the solution, if any?
We're literally just gonna have to try and put. Dad found this like roof patch paint like substance. We're gonna try that. If that doesn't work, we're just gonna have to call a professional and have them look at it and see what they can do
Uh-huh.
and see how much it's gonna cost. So that's fun. And we also, I got a new deadbolt for our front door because something I was thinking about when my mom and sister were doing a whole bunch of concerts and stuff like that. If I'm home alone, like if mom, dad, and sister end up like going to see, say, my older sister for some reason, if I'm home alone and I fall, somebody's gonna have to kick down the door to get me help. So we
Do you have a
decided,
life alert bracelet?
we don't have life alert, and my watch has the fall detection built into it, and it's like $200 cheaper than the monthly payments of having a life alert over the life of the device. So,
I see.
but we have a deadbolt that's keyless now that we need to put in. So basically, they just need to punch in a code. So I don't need to, have to worry about trying to hide a key somewhere up front or, wait for my father to come back from him working in the big city. They can just punch in a code and get me help without having to kick the door in. So, unfortunately, with that, it requires us to either put another hole in the door because it's the locking mechanism it goes inside the door now instead of our previous deadbolt, which was on the back side of the door. So we either need to cut a new hole in the door, put the deadbolt stuff where the doorknob currently is, and then just mount some sort of handle to hold the door because we won't be able to use the knob anymore because it's a deadbolt, or find another option, which is probably be buy a brand new door if we can't cut a hole in it. So it's going to be something we need to mess around with. So that's going to be fun. I guess as far as in gaming stuff, I've been on a Digimon V-Pet kick recently. I would be messing with my Monster Hunter V-Pet, but that got delayed. I think till sometime in June. So that's fun. But yeah, I just mess around with my Digimon V-Pet collection. Not been playing much in the way of games other than Final Fantasy XIV, and I've been grinding out stuff for Digimon, so hopefully we can get that started. I think most of the Digimon have their Mega Forms unlocked. So that will be good to get us back into that, because fights are starting to get hard. So Digimon World 3 will be starting up again soon-ish. And as far as trading card game, tomorrow they're taking applications for people to sign up for the regional events, and there is going to be one close by. So I'm going to see about getting in on that. That's in May. And then later, what is it, next weekend? Yeah, next weekend they're having the pre-release tournament. Well, pre-release event. It's kind of like a tournament, but it's sealed, so they give you 6 packs, and you just make a small deck out of those. And usually winner gets a box. So that's gonna be fun. And I think that's it from me.
All right. I suppose it's my go then.
Yep.
Let's see. Right. So I suppose the big news this week is I have secured a new laptop. I mentioned
Hooray.
it previously, but it is now in, and I spent the bulk of yesterday, uh, you know, getting it up to snuff
Have you
in
tried
some.
any of the like Unreal Engine games or stuff you couldn't play on your previous laptop yet?
I have not because I've been, too busy, getting Windows set up, getting all the programs I need,
Mm,
downloading Discord, Steam, um, Winamp, transferring files,
mm,
um, uh, and the big one, downloading Steam games.
yeah.
You know, um, I did play a bit of the games I'm reviewing this week on this new device,
Mm.
and they ran fine. But here's the thing: neither game are really all that taxing to the system.
Yeah, it's not something that would freak out even your older system from what I looked at, just perusing through them.
Right. I remember I was having trouble with the other game, but I found out that was just because you had to. It wasn't an instantaneous thing. I
Mm.
blame WarioWare. I'll go into it on Sunday.
Ah.
Um, but no, I haven't had a chance to try a actual meaty game yet.
Mm.
I'm like, um, uh, let's see. Also, got getting a new phone. It's like trying to get ahead of the tariffs
Yep.
here. Um, I'm getting no, it's not a Motorola. It's a Samsung Galaxy. No,
Ooh.
not a Note or anything like that.
Yeah, or like I guess the Ultra now, but yeah.
Hang on. I'm trying to remember the actual make and model here. It's like an A5.
I was about to say it's
Remember?
probably something from the A series.
Yeah. Which is a lot cheaper.
Hmm.
It works for what I use phones for.
Yeah, I know, like, for my parents and my sister, their phones are their primary entertainment devices, so we generally get the little more expensive devices just because they last us. Current ones are going on 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, so yeah, that's a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it's an A5. Um,
That was from last year or year before last? I'd have to look into that.
yeah, but it was $100 off.
Yeah.
So I took it. It still hasn't come in yet, but any day now.
Hmm.
So, and today was my mother's birthday. Took her out to a Chinese restaurant, um, and she quite enjoyed it.
Oh man.
So it's been a pretty busy week, all things considered.
Yeah.
Like, so in terms of gaming, ironically enough, I haven't really had the chance to game outside of the show because, um, once again, working on laptop.
Hmm.
So, uh, and yeah, I guess that'll about do it for the news. Right. So on to the main event. It's always frustrating when guests leave you hanging. Not, and I don't mean like they have to cancel out or they have to delay to a month or two. We get those all the time, but they usually let me know what's going on so we can work around that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is one of the guests we were supposed to have this week. One of these guests who was interested in my proposal, agreed to a time and date, and when it comes time to remind them, they just don't send any word. No updates. Not even like a move to block. So I'm not even sure they're reading the message.
Yeah.
It's like communicating with a fucking cone of silence. And it is eminently fucking frustrating because, they haven't canceled.
Mm-hmm.
They could still, they could still respond. It's like I've had people do that.
They could show up in the chat right now for all we know.
Yeah.
That'll be fun for me. No, it won't.
It's still not the most egregious guest cancellation we've had this season. Nothing stopping having a guest literally quit the show in the middle of a show.
Yeah.
But I can usually anticipate this sort of things by the lack of response. So, in lieu of that, we are doing another reaction, and this time we are going to be looking at Starcade. So first of all, no, this isn't Starcade with 2 R's. That is a wrestling thing. We don't do that here on this program. No, this Starcade is. I'm not sure if it's the first video game program, but it's certainly one of the earliest. Hailing from 1982 to 1984, if I'm remembering correctly. So we are squarely in the golden age of arcade / Atari 2600 era. Now, consoles actually do not matter to this conversation because Starcade, it focuses on arcade competition. So, we're going to see some of the classics and some of the second tier, probably some of the obscure stuff as well. But as far and this is pure arcade competition. Like, I'd imagine that people are more familiar with the concept. It's probably from like Nick Arcade, which is from like a decade later. Had and had much more. It had console games in it,
right?
So, but. And I think there were a few other programs in the mix as well, like Video Power, one of the seasons.
I vaguely remember one on Game Show Network that was kind of like a game adjacent thing.
Possibly. Point is, we're also getting into some layered nostalgia. Like, that is to say, so this game show premiered on WTBS, TBS back in the early 80s. But most of its notoriety, most of its popularity comes from its rerun age in the mid 2000s when it was a staple of the G4 network.
I missed Golden Age of G4.
I certainly remember watching a good deal of Starcade late in the night when I was, busy with some test or project for college. So, like I said, so this is hitting the nostalgia bones of those who watched that particular era of G4. That we're talking about 2003 to 2006, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever the Tech TV merger happened, because that's when Starcade disappears.
But before it became the dumping ground for Cops and Star Trek.
Right. Anyway, so we're looking at what YouTubers. So the uploader is titling episode 1. I'm not exactly sure about that. This being a game show, the episodes all are pretty similar. So, trying to tell one episode from another is kind of blurry.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into it.
And also, most of the episodes were probably recorded in a batch.
Starcade, TV's first video arcade game show. A game show for today. And here's your host, Mark Richards.
Uh,
And welcome to Starcade.
we just can't.
Today's exciting rounds of competition.
Yeah, our host here is straight off of the Computer Chronicles. That suit.
Hey kid, stay in the back and pretend to play Pac-Man.
Are you about ready? Have you warmed up enough? I'm ready.
I have questions about this matchup.
Let's go play.
Why is a kid facing up against a 45-year-old?
Because theoretically, your abilities in a video game don't have too much to do with your physicality. Though I guess they do have plenty to do with your mentality.
Practicing up enough, huh?
I don't know, this is just wrong.
Yeah.
Hello, John. Hi, how are you? Nice to have you with us, John. And your opponent is
How's is that mustache?
Hi, sorry, Heidi.
And that hair.
Good.
And that hair.
Look, it was some years.
Look, it's the 70s merging into the 80s. We're just going to see a lot of fashion crimes on multiple
crimes, particularly.
Yes. At least we're far enough away that we don't have the mullet.
Yet.
I don't know, that guy's a little close.
That's who you look like. And you look like him. And
I know.
looks like
I can
me.
see it.
Shoot.
Ugh.
You've been told that many times, and I understand you're also on call for the Broadway part of it.
Jesus.
Why am I just picturing the meme hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby here?
You're going to audition right now for us, okay? Here we go. Heidi.
The sun'll come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow.
Why are we doing this?
Because like I said, she's...
I'm still trying to figure out how we thought that this matchup was a good idea. Why are we having...
Hold off on that until you see who wins.
Yeah.
And here's what we're going to do. We're going to have 5 games on the program today. You'll both be playing 3 of the same game, and the high score gets to play their choice of the 4th or the 5th game for the grand prize, which is your very own video arcade game. And here's Kevin to tell us what it is. Kevin?
Which is pretty expensive for the time. Oh, it's pretty expensive now.
Oh, yeah.
Could win it today on the program. We have 2 rounds of competition. There'll be 2 games in round 1 and 1 game in round 2. And the winner of each round of competition gets to play.
I wonder what the taxes were on that.
Right now, let's find out what the 5 games
Oh,
today's
fuck.
game. Kevin, if you will.
Yeah, that's the part that they don't tell you about game shows. Ooh, Time Pilot. Favorite of mine. Never saw that one.
Burger Time. Help
Oh man, Burger
Another
Time.
one.
Game 4 is Blueprint. Mean Fuzzy Wuzzy meets up with JJ.
I actually knew somebody who had that on the Atari 2600.
Remember when Midway actually made decent games?
I remember when Midway existed. They don't now.
Valid. Very valid.
I have a question I'm going to ask you based on video arcade games. The first one to press, answer correctly, gets to pick the first game.
And then
In the game of Asteroids, the player controls A, a triangular spaceship, or B, a disc-like saucer. John?
are we trying here?
First one, the triangle shape.
You got it. That's
Like,
what it is.
yeah, if you...
Spaceship. And that means
That's
You get to pick the very first
that,
game to play. Which will it be?
did you put that question in because you thought this guy was clueless about video games in general? Like, what is a video game? That's that level of question here.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but I've seen some stupid answers on game shows.
I know. I have too. Now I want to play fucking Time Pilot.
Pilots for extra points as you race through time. 100 years will pass before the eyes of the Time Pilot.
John, Time Pilot's the game you played. We're going to give you 40 seconds on our
Look,
time.
that's a lot of memories at Chuck E. Cheese.
Don't forget you're playing for the
Never been to one.
prize, your very own video arcade game. You ready to play?
It might have been like the Showbiz Pizza, or it was one of those things at some particular point. But I just remember Time Pilot being at a Chuck E. Cheese like location.
Oh God! They did not secure that properly. That's a tipping hazard.
He's
Clearly, there were some quirks to iron out here on multiple fronts.
I feel like he's wasting a lot of effort.
Yeah. A lot of that is just showboating for the camera. Let's be frank.
Maybe, but
you're hitting the fire button fast, but it doesn't matter when you're only hitting something occasionally.
It looks like you played that game many times.
you're not very familiar with shmups, are you?
Okay, it's acceptable. I'll tell you what you got. You have yourself
No,
4,200 points. 4,200 points.
Like no, that is some expert shmup
Go on back to the
handling.
board, if you will, please, and let's come on up with Heidi.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'm not liking her chances.
Is she even tall enough?
Barely.
I'm sure they can provide a box.
Are you sure? They don't even have that arcade cabinet secured.
Well, they can push another arcade cabinet over and she can stand on that.
If you're all set, listen to my cue. Ready and begin.
Hey, let's see how this is gonna go. We need to go Konami into making a new Time Pilot. Also, yep, this is going about as well as I expected. And somehow this show survived this.
I mean,
Almost 4.
5K.
Yeah.
You should be very happy right now because you have 5,000 points, and that means you're ahead of John as we finish our first round of competition on today's Starcade.
Okay,
And
was she rusty or something there?
John and Starcade after these words.
That was some curious play.
That's
Like that. I'm wondering what. Okay, what was the deal there? Like we're acting
Korea
like.
foot?
Yeah, that's like okay. That's eyebrow raising because I'm like you were acting like a newcomer. Now you're doing some extra shit.
Has the bonus prize to it. So good luck to you. Here is your next question. How many ghosts in the game Pac-Man? A, are there 3 ghosts? Or B, are there 4 ghosts? John, you buzzed first.
4 ghosts.
You got it. 4 ghosts is right.
Once again, yeah, not exactly stretching
your choice.
Okay.
the memory muscles.
Yeah,
here.
it's much more. It's much more speed, I guess, and that's unsurprising that an adult is winning.
It's Tutankhamun, and you're traveling through the pyramid searching for the hidden treasure. Fire on the nasties trying to catch you.
Tutankhamun is one of those games I've vaguely heard about.
I've never seen this.
I've seen it on like Konami collections or classic game collections, that kind of deal. But
this is a very important game because we're going to total up the
you know,
points
it-
in this round, and between
it's
you and I,
not
we're going to see who plays
something
for the bonus
that
round coming up right after this.
my brain knows.
Again, 40 seconds on our time clock.
This will be
Good luck to you,
interesting.
John. You're going to play the Tutankhamun game. Ready and begin.
Oh, is this twin stick? I mean, that's how you do it, buddy.
I suppose if you don't care about anything other than score, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's twin stick, which was a thing by this time because Robotron 2084 was invented. Not here, but you know. Or it could have been some independent convergence evolution going on. I mean, I'm not going to chat him too much for not being good at Tutankhamun because how many people played Tutankhamun?
Also, I want to see how the hell they're recording that scream.
Heidi, you know, this is a very important game, right? Because we're going to total up the points between you and John on the first two games, and whoever has the highest score gets to play the bonus round for some prizes. So are you set to play?
Yes.
Have you played this before?
Yes.
All right, well, good luck to you. You're going to play
Uh-oh.
it again, and this time we're going to give you 40 seconds on our clock. So if you're all set to go, let's turn you around and get you into position. Wait for my signal. We're going to play the Tutankhamun game.
Decimation
And
may be
you,
happening here.
Ready? Begin.
Like, we found the one person who was the expert at Tutankhamun.
I
Once
mean,
again,
Those like warp zones or what?
oh god, that is awful.
you know, I can see why this one never achieved the heights of, say, Pac-Man.
Heidi, why don't you take your place over at the podium right now, and we're going to total up the points from the first two games in the first round of competition.
Heavy mathematical
Let's see who
tabulation
gets
has
to play
begun.
Our first bonus round. And John, at the end of the first round of competition, you have 4,820 points, and Heidi, you have 6,200 points, and you win the first round of competition.
Yeah, I smell fuckery afoot, boys.
And Heidi, that
No
means you
kidding.
take a little
Like-
trip down from the podium. Come on down here with me to the playing area, and you and I get to play the bonus round for some fine
The
prizes.
bonus
On
round.
our 4 TV screens, we're going to show you 4 video arcade games, one at a time.
I think they got those
And if you
TVs from
identify them
Tic-Tac-Toe.
correctly, we've got some great prizes
Possibly.
for you, and here's Kevin to tell you what they are. Kevin?
Heidi, for 3 correct answers, the whole band is right in your hand with the Casio VL Tone. 5 different instruments, 10 rhythms from rock to rock.
What is
and a
that?
calculator, too.
Remember back when they
The
used to give you a
Casio
random
with
assortment of
tools
things
never cease.
instead of,
And
like,
for correct
money?
answers, it's
I mean, the
ColecoVision.
ColecoVision is
ColecoVision.
something that would be
Just like
wanted.
in the arcade.
That's
You're
Yeah.
the
that's fucking
ColecoVision from
that's fucking
Coleco.
advertising
I'll
fraud
put you
right
in
there.
those prizes, Heidi.
Sure.
Okay, let's turn around. Play the game. I'm going to give you 2 answers for each TV screen, and you come up with the right answers. And those
I would not
prizes
want to be the
are yours.
motherfucker who had to put those
Let's go
in.
with number 1. Heidi, is this Tron or Space Trek?
Tron.
Oh, you're making it multiple
Number 2,
choice.
Defender or Stargate?
Stargate.
Okay, that one's...
Number 3. Is this Wild Western or Cowboys and Indians?
Cowboys and Indians.
No. I'm sorry, but if you get this next one right, you win yourself a prize. Number 4. Is this Space Duel or Solar Fox?
Geometry Wars.
You got it, and you got yourself 3 out of 4 right, and that means you've won a Casio VL Tone as a prize, and you might get to play the next bonus round and even go home with the video arcade game of your own.
And
we'll
I
be
thought
back
the
with
Casio
Heidi
keyboard
and
was cheap.
John right after
Well,
this.
ironically, that thing probably cost like $300.
Yeah,
Well,
back
you know.
back in the day, that was probably a couple $100 machine.
Competition on Starcade with
Now you
John
find
Which
them at
translates
your.
to like
play one more game this
$2,000
round,
in
and
today's
whoever has
money.
the highest ever
Mhm.
points gets to play the
Now you
bonus
can find
round.
it
And don't
at a
forget, we
garbage
still have three
at a
games
garage
remaining
sale
on the
for
program.
like $25.
And behind one of those games is a bonus prize. You call the game, and you might just win that bonus prize. And don't forget, one of you hopefully will go home today with your very own Eyes Video Arcade game. So if you're all set for another question, hands on your buzzer, please.
Aye.
And good luck to both you and Heidi. John? When the mother kangaroo rescues her baby in the game Kangaroo, what song plays? Is it A, Happy Days Are Here Again, or B,
No.
Oh Susanna?
Oh,
John?
Susanna.
B. Oh, Susanna.
You got it. That's what it is. Oh, Susanna. And that means, well, since you're here, pick out the game that you want. One of those are remaining. 3 games.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. I win the game. Burger time.
Burger time it is. Come on over. Well, you're halfway here already. Let's go over
Yeah,
and play
yeah,
Burger
that's a
Time.
fair
Here's Ken to
choice.
Tell us how it's played.
Build a burger.
How many
Chef
people would
Peter
be
Pepper
going, yeah, I
collects
want to pick
patties,
swim?
Cheese, lettuce, and buns. For bonus points,
Damascus?
catch the pursuing hot dog, egg, and pickle
No, no,
burger.
that's
And if
it's
you
not a
can't catch them,
masochism thing.
you
It's a
mobilize them
popularity
briefly by
thing.
shaking
Like,
pepper
you know,
their
Burger
way.
Time is a
Peter
game
Pepper
I've
on
heard
the
of.
platter and feast on your success. It's burger time.
John, we're going to play Burger Time with you, and this is a very important round. If you can play the bonus round, if you beat Heidi in this game right here, we're going to give you 30 seconds on our clock to play Burger Time the best as you possibly can.
There's,
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's still unsettling to hear,
In position.
you
30
know,
seconds on our clock.
an
Ready?
adult
Begin.
beating a child in any context.
Mhm. Really, bro? The first level of Burger Time.
Like,
Wow, he's bad.
oh god.
I can't tell if he's throwing or if he's just awful.
John, tell me, are you happy?
Not particularly happy.
What was the
I'm
problem
trying to
with
figure
this
out what
Burger
was
Time?
worse, his
I just
gameplay
thought it was
or
gonna be
the
better than I
editing.
thought it was.
Why not
You're
both?
funny, too. I'll tell you what's not so
Bro,
funny,
I think
though.
bro was paid to take a dive.
That's all you scored in 30 seconds on the clock. So
Very
we're gonna send you
possible.
back to the podium and bring up Heidi right now. Come on up here, Heidi. Have you ever played Burger Time?
Couple times.
Well, do you think
Couple
you can beat 500 points in 30 seconds?
Watch this,
Well, we're
and
gonna wish
she
you
gets
luck. Turn around, please.
2,000
In
points.
position, 30
Yeah.
seconds on the clock. Here you go, Heidi. Ready? Begin.
Yep.
Well, she needs to be grasping the drop things on enemies a little bit better.
Right. Like, Burger Time's a hard game. No joke. But you can also tell when somebody's playing good versus bad.
Next bonus round on Starcade. And looking at the points, John, 500 points for Burger Time. Heidi, 800. And that means, Heidi, one more time, join me down here. And let's
Jesus.
play the
Yeah, no,
bonus
bro
round.
was paid to take a dive.
You didn't do too well the last time, did you? But maybe today and this one right now, you can do a little bit better and win a prize. And all you
She
have to
got
do is
3 out of 4?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
He's looking at him like he's
And you'll win some
okay.
prizes. And here's Kevin to tell you what
Like,
those prizes
what,
are.
93 correct answers gives you the tabletop version of Midway's
they couldn't have done another
Complete
take of that.
joystick control and even shows best score.
Ooh.
The arcade game you take home with you, Midway's Pac-Man by Coleco. And for 4 correct answers, it's the Texas Instruments home computer for education, home finance, and
Oh, God, a
entertainment.
trash
It's not
80.
just for
Yup.
playing, it's also for learning. A home computer.
You
furnished
couldn't
by
have sprung
Texas
for the
Instruments.
apple.
Well, good luck to you on bonus
No.
round number 2. This is your second chance. Let's turn around and take a look at our monitors and look at the games. I'll give you 2 answers for each one. One of them is the right answer. You come up with the right answers, and you are a winner. Let's take a look at number 1 there, Heidi. Is this Defender or Stargate?
Defender.
Yes. Number 2.
Wait a second.
Is this Kong Jumpman or Donkey Kong Jr.?
Donkey Kong Jr.
You got it. Number 3.
Yeah,
Heidi,
you
is this
you had the
Coal or the Pit?
there's what
And now for the big prize.
we
number
had the
four.
Defender
Is
Stargate
this
question
Star
before.
React or Reactor?
It might have been a
No,
different.
I'm sorry, it's
I don't
not,
know
but turn
what
around
are
anyway,
man.
and you won yourself a prize. You at least got 3 out of 4 right, and you have yourself a tabletop Pac-Man for your efforts. And we'll be back with
Yeah,
more
like
of
she
Heidi
did as well
and
as she
John,
did
the
last
contestants who
time.
gets to play for the very
There,
own Eyes Video Arcade
Didn't she?
game following these
there is some weird editing shit going on here that I don't like.
Some
Yeah.
of our Starcade contestants and some members of the studio audience will receive the famous red ball joystick from Wicco, making joysticks for actual arcade
Fuck.
games used on Starcade. Wicco command
I have,
control, the one and only
like,
arcade quality
famous-
joystick for home use.
By who? Like,
printer display
I've never
just
heard of this
calculator
thing
from Texas
before.
Instruments. Anything you do with numbers,
Oh
Texas
man,
Instruments
a
can help you do
calculator.
better. Electronic fun with computers and games.
Which were
is the
decidedly less
computer age.
impressive by the
Easy to read,
1980s.
witty, and
I was more the
informative. It's the ultimate
gadget
balance for
superstar
gamers
of
and
the early
users of all ages.
1970s.
Electronic fun with computers and games.
You know,
I
it's the
saw
thing that
E.T.
directly preceded and led into the microcomputer revolution.
Has the bonus prize attached to it, and that happened to be Swimmer. If you had picked that game, you would have won a bonus prize. But right now, John, I've got some bad news for you. You have 5,320 points total score right now, and Heidi, you have 7,000 points, and you get to play for your own video arcade game. Congratulations to you. And Heidi, we have 2 games remaining. If you pick Swimmer as your final game, you must score at least 310 points. And if you pick Blueprint, you must score 2,260 points. Now, those are the average scores based on 20 people playing those games for a 30-second time period. The same amount of time that you'll have. Heidi, which one is it?
Swimmer.
Swimmer it is.
I wonder
And
what
come
the
on down to
statistical
playing
process of that
Evan,
looked
please
like.
Tell us all about Swimmer.
And paddle your way
I
upstream.
mean, depending where they
Avoiding
film this,
driftwood,
it's probably easy
furious
to
snapping
kill out around,
turtles.
you know,
Scoring
get the
points as
data
you
around
go.
arcades.
Gather up the
No, I'm
Literally
talking
just
about.
hand-
points,
Hmm?
but
Go ahead.
be ready to hold your breath.
Yeah, I'm
and
talking
dive
about literally
into
what
the
did that look like.
dangers of the river.
Hmm.
Come on in, the water's fine. You're the
Hey kid,
swimmer.
here's a quarter. Can
Heidi,
we
if you
record
get
you
more
for
than
30
310
seconds?
points in 30 seconds, that
Possibly.
Eyes Video Arcade game is all yours. So good luck to you. Everybody wish Heidi luck, won't you?
Now we've hit the theater of the obscure. Like, I've never heard of Swimmer.
Ready? Begin.
Blueprint is most people, and I. Is she good?
Heidi, let's take a look. Did you or did you not? Yes, you did. You have 430 points, and the Eyes Video Arcade game is yours.
Good for her.
Your dad, your brother, everybody here. Come on down, John. Congratulate Heidi, won't you? This is Mark Richards. Thank you all.
Where's
for
my
being with us
check,
on Eyes
bitch?
Arcade. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Some transportation furnished by Budget Rent-A-Car, where you get low rates and great
Oh my
service.
god, but rent a car.
Accommodations for Starcade staff
Yes.
by the elegant Grosvenor Inn Civic Center in San Francisco. Chauffeured service furnished by Vista Limousine in
Yes,
San
yes.
Francisco.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Furnished by RCA.
God, I remember
And that's
when
why
RCA
the prizes on a lot of these games were
Richards Wardrobe.
piles of junk, because everybody's promoting their own products.
Not necessarily piles of junk, but
Okay,
it depends
piles
on
of
like
items.
I mean, the Coleco stuff is actually pretty good here. Like, not just the Coleco Vision, but the Coleco tabletop stuff.
But yeah, that was a
Yeah.
thing.
Anyway, so yeah, that was early Starcade. We'll probably want to look later on in Starcade's life when we return to this, because the episodes I remember watching didn't look like this.
Yeah, this was definitely bro was paid to take a dive.
Well, it's also like, once again, why do we have a very, a middle-aged adult challenging a 10-year-old?
Mhm.
Like, the episodes I remember, it was what you would have expected. Kids versus kids.
Right.
Like none of this like mismatch shit. You know, maybe not necessarily in skill, but still, in terms of visuals, this is disconcerting and upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, Petty Fan, if you can play us to the next segment.
Ow. It played. I didn't switch over properly.
I was wondering.
What have we learned?
Buttons are
Apparently
hard.
nothing.
Anyway, I do believe we have a certain carding.
Yes. Anyway, so this week's topic of discussion, in honor of Mario Kart World, we are going to be talking about Super Mario Kart, the first one, the Super Nintendo one, like the one that started it all, the one that's on a grand scale a bit obscure, if I'm being honest. You know, because I've seen it. It's happened. You know, a lot of people think Mario Kart started with 64. And that just isn't true. Because, you know, we have.
For a while there, my brain had made up a freaking non-existent, non-Super Mario Kart for the NES. But no, in this case, it's just Super as in Super Mario.
Right. Granted, the naming scheme was in vogue because Super Nintendo, every other game had to use Super in the title. You know, this is where that particular Nintendo convention started. But yeah, Super Mario Kart. So there is a lot to say about Super Mario Kart, and there's also not all that much to say about it. That is to say, Super Mario Kart is actually, it's a landmark in the development of video games because, it's not every day when you can pinpoint the progenitor of an entire genre. Now, Super Mario Kart isn't the first game to have a kart in its racing game. That goes to a 1989 Super Scalar Sega game called Power Slide. But that played like, well, a Super Scalar game that, had a go-kart in it. Whereas Super Mario Kart literally invented the tropes and conventions we associate with kart racing. The specific genre that is kart racing. Everything to the cartoony graphics, to the weapons, that's a big one, to the fantastical settings, to stuffing marketable characters into the field, the whole works. That starts here with Super Mario Kart. And on the other hand, it is the first it's the first Mario Kart. So it's gonna be not necessarily rough around the edges because in terms of like actual polish design, it's all fairly good for the Super Nintendo. It's just
that's a really big asterisk though for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, that's the key here for the Super Nintendo.
Because sorry.
It is definitely being constrained by the hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, you always have a split screen. even when
because they couldn't do it all vertically, there would be too much skybox.
something along those lines. I don't remember the technical reasons behind it, but yeah. They needed
the way that this is working is that in the window where the actual action is taking place, there are only two kinds of things there. One is the background, which they do a very good job of making the ground seem similar to the sky, but seem separate from the sky, but it is one continuous thing pretty much. And then sprites, which are all approximately flat onto the camera, which results in like the bridge doesn't have any actual height, the walls don't have any actual height, the item boxes don't have any actual height.
Yeah, it's it's a very flat game.
Yeah, so and that makes it harder to tell what's going on more than very slightly ahead of you.
Mhm.
Also, the item boxes, while they are here and they do have many of the trademark weapons, the live action players are the only people that actually interact with those. The enemy CPUs only get a random item, or not only get an item based on which character it is, at certain intervals.
Right.
Like each of them only has one thing that they'll use, and that is the main thing that separates Bowser from DK Jr. or Yoshi from Princess.
Because you didn't get Peach this time; she was still Princess Toadstool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she was. And the tracks themselves are also similarly not uninspired, but just kind of bland.
Yeah, a few of these became classics in the series. I mean, well, honestly, most of them did, but a few of them have a lot more character than others. Notably, the Ghost House and, of course, Rainbow Road.
And Bowser's Castle.
Yes.
In fact, Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road, those two tracks would go on to become the perennial staples. Like, I don't think there's a Mario Kart game that doesn't have both those tracks in it somewhere.
Well, a lot of the time they make different versions of them. But, literally, this game's specific versions of some of those get reused a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's also these specific tracks are all based off of Super Mario World.
Like I'm in Boo House right now.
Yep.
Which was at the time the latest of the 4 or 5 Mario games total.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Also, to correct something, no, Super Mario Kart is not the first spin-off to. It's not even the first major spin-off to Mario. Like Dr. Mario already happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pretty major spin-off.
Dr. Mario is a different person. You can tell because I can play as him separately in Smash. I'm kidding.
I was about to say, are we going to sacrifice him?
Yes. Like, anyway,
but yes, there had already been puzzle spin-offs.
Was Teach's typing out at this time?
This is before that. Couple years. And plus those don't count because those were farmed out to like Interplay and the software Toolworks. But Super Mario Kart is definitely one of the first, but it is not the first. Depending on how you want to view things like tennis, his appearance in like tennis. But
I was excluding those when I was listing the very few Mario games that existed at this point.
Yeah, but there was also like NES Open Club Tournament Golf or something like that.
Yeah.
That came out in '90. That very definitively starred Mario and Luigi. Like original NES Golf, different guy. Thank you, Captain Rainbow. Like, though, I suppose we should also talk about the roster here because, this basically is, this establishes most of the core Mario roster for Mario Kart. But we also got a few not well, I don't want to say one-offs, but I do think Donkey Kong Jr. is a one-off. Like, I don't think Donkey Kong Jr. has returned to Mario Kart since this appearance. Could be
See,
wrong about that.
I would not go so far as to say that because there's a mobile game.
That's why I'm not sure.
Right. But yes, Donkey Kong Jr. does not show up a lot, ignoring the possibility that modern Donkey Kong is him. He's not calling himself that, so he doesn't count.
Yeah. Fuck, Rare and Nintendo couldn't keep track of that shit, either. So at certain points, Rare Donkey Kong is Donkey Kong Jr. At certain points, he's not.
It's all about whether Cranky is his father or grandfather, which they've gone back and forth on.
So once again, nothing. Everything was very squishy in Donkey Kong Country in terms of the family lineage.
So yeah, about 6 of the characters in this are. We'll say 5 of the characters in this are really obvious choices: Mario, Luigi, Princess, Toad, and Bowser.
I'd say all 6. I'd say 6 are Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Bowser, and Toad.
Yoshi was fairly new at this point, but they were pushing him really hard, and they are vindicated in this.
Well, yeah, Yoshi was the new superstar. Mm-hmm. Also, this game came out in 1992, so we're in the same year that Wario debuted. This game would have been developed concurrently with Wario Land 2, which means they could have put
Land 2.
Yeah. Point is, they could have put Wario in the game had they wanted to, I think. But I'm not sure how aware, the team that was working on Super Mario Kart were of what, the
references to the Game Boy games in other games were not that big.
Yeah, especially since everything here is anchoring to Super Mario World. And that goes, including Yoshi. Yoshi is the representative of Super Mario World. Mm-hmm. In terms of the character selection. And, that bleeds into right down to the weapon selection, because one of the items that shows up here is the feather. Which was for the longest time a one and done until very recent.
Yeah, they usually have preferred to. Well, when they went back to 2D games, they usually prefer to use the raccoon tail.
And
partially because it's less freaking overpowered.
Possibly. And I suppose we should get into the weapon selection, because
I was going to say the other kind of weird choice is generic Koopa Troopa, which they definitely wanted another antagonist character, and they weren't. And the Troopa is one of the longest and most enduring Mario enemies at that point, and a lot of the ones that are considered to have more character now were still very new at the time, like Magic Koopa and Spike.
Okay, I would say Koopa Troopa makes sense for a lot of reasons. Not just because he's, one of the most recognizable of Bowser's minions, but once again, it goes back to the Super Mario World tie-in.
That's true. This is distinctively the world version of the Troopa because he has hands.
And here's the thing: Super Mario World is very Koopa centric.
Yeah,
More
you don't get many Goombas. In fact,
And
now you don't get any. Those are all Galoombas.
yeah, like they were originally like cherry Goombas or something like that, but now they're like a cousin to the Goombas. But they didn't. Yeah, they did not operate like regular Goombas, and they were a fairly rare enemy in Super Mario World at that. No, like Super Mario World is the Koopa show.
Hammer Brothers would have been a choice, but I guess those are less up. Anyway, I think they were not ready yet to pretend that Goombas can drive a cart, regardless. They are clearly at that point now.
I mean, there were a few other Super Mario World choices they could have gone with. They like the one that comes to my mind is they could have picked Rex.
Yeah, Rex would have been equivalent to Yoshi in that it is a new, fairly pushed guy. But unfortunately, Rex has not made a whole ton of follow-up appearances.
Yeah. And as far as going for a Koopaling, then we would have had a Zaz situation. If you start picking one Koopaling for the spin-off games, then that becomes the Koopaling.
Yeah, you don't break that group up.
And we didn't have.
They probably didn't have the data room for another 7 characters.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, so insofar as the weapons and item selection here, once again, it's some core stuff here, but not as core as people would expect. For example, the red and green shells are here, but the blue shell is not. The blue shell is an invention for Mario Kart 64.
Yeah, I would hazard they probably didn't have the technology to do the pathing for a blue shell properly, regarding how flat everything is.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet the blue shell requires like floating point maths or something like that. But we also get like the lightning bolts. We get the banana peel. We get the mushroom. Like I said, all the very core staple.
And this game does actually have coins working approximately the same way they do in 8, which is not how they work in some games, because in some games they're not in there.
Right. And I remember people being upset that the coins weren't there in like Mario Kart 64 or Double Dash. Like, and also the Boo weapon appears in the battle mode.
Yes, this did also introduce the battle mode. We will discuss that in a moment.
Yeah. And I remember for a good long while, battle mode was kind of the big draw to at least Super Mario Kart. Then when we get to like Mario Kart 64, it evens out because battle mode's still popular, but the actual racing portion of Mario Kart 64 is also played a lot more and more, fairly beloved and all that stuff.
But yes, it turns out it's fun to be able to use all of the weapons without also having to worry about coming in first in the race. This may also be the thing that invented the life system of having... You still are technically one hit, but you have armor in the form of balloons that rotate around you,
Yes.
which gets less effective as you have less of them.
Battle mode, once again, would get better for 3D installments. Like, Double Dash has some really good battle mode functionality. You know, I do know battle mode is something that kind of fell off there once we get to like Mario Kart Wii, and then the utter fucking disaster that was Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. That was something fixed for 8 Deluxe. We'll talk about that when we get to 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, they have also had some pretty questionable attempts at battle modes.
I mean, well, that was the abomination that was Mario Kart 8. You know, instead of having battle modes, hey, we're going to put you on the single-player tracks that were not designed for battle mode.
Oh, I forgot you could backshoot items in one.
Nope, you can do that in one.
I thought that was a 64 invention.
Nope, it's important for both bananas and green shells. You can't hold them behind the green shells behind you to protect you from red shells, but...
Yeah, that was the thing that was invented for Mario Kart 64. Another aspect that we should talk about is the music. Because the music is fucking weird.
That's one way to put it.
Super Nintendo is a good vessel for that. When it's good, it's very good. When it's weird, it's weird.
Very much the mantra of the 16-bit era.
Well, I think that comes down to the composer, Soyo Oka. You might notice from her name that, you know, it's not Koji Kondo or even Hip Tanaka. It's not one of the usual Nintendo house musicians scoring this. It might be because this is a spin-off game that she was allowed to go in a very offbeat direction. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm just saying the soundtrack has a soundscape that is very un-Mario-like. At least in terms of the main games. You know, this... but it does sound similar to another Mario spin-off game on the Super Nintendo. And that is Super Mario RPG. That has to do with the fact because that was scored by Soyo Oka, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong on that. I just, I do remember Super Mario Kart sounding much more like Mario RPG than Mario World.
Honestly, I don't remember the music for Kart that much, but that's because when I played it recently on Switch Online, I think I had the music down low.
I'm the opposite. I find Super Mario Kart's music to be very distinctive. Hell, probably more distinctive than, say, Mario Kart 64. Just because it's using some very different... I wish I knew more about music to describe what I'm talking about. Very different sound cadence. Like the opening track doesn't sound like a Mario game.
It sounds more like modern Mario now. It definitely doesn't sound like the more classic Mario.
Oh, yeah, I was wrong about the composer to Super Mario RPG. Different people. Trying to remember what else she did. To look it up elsewhere. Anyway, so overall, Super Mario Kart is a good first step for the series,
Mhm.
but you could see why it exploded when it went to 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, if we
now,
got time, I do have 8 Deluxe on my Switch. If you give me a minute.
we'll give Mario Kart 8 its own topic of discussion.
Fair enough, because it was one of the few that Nintendo ordained to re-release.
Mm,
Like, proper, not just, like, lump on the NSO. Like, remake it for the Switch.
right.
People have been violently wanting them to remake Double Dash.
Probably not going to happen. Like, but
It's
double.
just for the system, right? For the two people and the
Yeah.
ability to swap between sets of items and stuff.
It's the most different Mario Kart.
Double Dash is going to be interesting on the NSO.
Because it has land support.
Yes. So there is a possibility that Nintendo might be touting 8-player functionality, or however big the LAN connection was.
And they also need to make it so people with the original game can't somehow get into there, if you know what I mean. Because there are people who are still setting up LAN games now with Double Dash.
Right. Anyway, so yeah, I think that'll about do it for Super Mario Kart here.
Hooray.
And indeed, that'll about do it for the episode. So, coming up on the week ahead, let's see. We do have a new episode of MSP plans for after this show, so be sure to tune in for that. Friday's show is looking to be in question because, once again, the people who I contact don't answer their fucking emails. Look,
Oh, trust me, I get it.
it's like, we agreed to this. Why aren't you picking up now? Anyway, so, presumably if I hear back from him on Friday, April 11th, we'll be having Marios Dimitriadis of Spectrum Games on the program. And coming up on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Rendering Ranger R Squared Rewind, Carry Onward, Haneko's Flower Shop, and Bundle of Joy. So until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.